In the heart of Angkor Thom, Bayon stands tall. Jayavarman's vision echoes in the walls. Faces of compassion carved in stone. In the city's center, they make their home. From Bayon to Bayon, the temples rise. A legacy of kings beneath the skies. With every stone, a story to be told. The tales of Angkor Thom in our hearts they hold. Bayon, a temple from another time. A monument to faith, a sacred climb. For me and a cause in the royal palace embrace. An ancient temple standing with grace. From Bayon to Bayon, the temples rise. A legacy of kings beneath the skies. With every stone, a story to be told. The tales of Angkor Thom in our hearts they hold. Processual proud tower, ceremonial and grand. Priya-Pali's ruins in the forest they stand. Priya-Pit's small temples, quiet and serene. In Angkor Thom's history, they are part of the scene. Terrace of the elephants, where kings once stood. Terrace of the leopard king, in the ancient wood. Lines and prosapcron, treasures of the past. Mandala's whispers in the wings they cast. From Bayon to Bayon, the temples rise. A legacy of kings beneath the skies. With every stone, a story to be told. The tales of Angkor Thom in our hearts they hold. In the ruins of Angkor, the spirits reside. Through the temple's walls, the stories glide. Angkor Thom's legacy, forever it will be. In our hearts and souls, an eternal symphony.
Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're tackling Angkor Thom, that incredible Khmer city.
Majestic is a good word for it.
Definitely. But today we're going beyond just like the pretty pictures.
Right, we're looking at its impact, its legacy on Cambodia.
Exactly. And we've got a whole stack of sources.
Oh yeah, history books, travel guides.
Encyclopedias, even some art history stuff.
A real mix.
So think of this deep dive like a journey through time.
Without the jet lag.
Exactly. But instead of just hitting the highlights,
We're going deeper.
into the symbolism, the grandeur, all that makes Angkor Thom so fascinating. So to start, Angkor Thom, built late 12th century,
By King Jayavarman VII.
not the first city on that site,
But definitely the most impressive.
9 square kilometers.
Huge. Now what's interesting is Jayavarman, he didn't just want a capital city.
It was more than that.
He envisioned a sacred space, like a reflection of the universe.
Angkor Thom does mean great city.
In Khmer, yeah.
Hmm.
And that ambition is clear in its design. Angkor Thom is laid out like a mandala.
A mandala.
It's a spiritual blueprint in Buddhism. Layers of symbolism built right in. For example, the city walls and the moat.
They represent.
Continents and oceans.
Whoa. And at the center.
The Bayon Temple, symbolizing Mount Meru.
That's the sacred mountain in...
At the heart of the cosmos. It's like walking into a giant symbolic world.
I'm picturing those bridges leading into the city. With rows of those massive figures. 54 gods, 54 demons.
Pulling on this giant serpent.
Like, what's going on there?
That's the churning of the ocean of milk, key myth, both in Hinduism and Cambodian cosmology.
So it's about...
The creation of the world, this eternal struggle, good versus evil, and it's right there at Angkor Thom's entrance.
But wasn't Jayavarman VII a Buddhist king?
He was.
It seems odd to have that Hindu imagery front and center.
It might seem that way, but it actually reflects this fascinating thing about the Khmer Empire. See, even with Jayavarman promoting Buddhism, Hinduism, it wasn't a race.
It was still woven in.
Exactly. Angkor Thom is like proof of this religious fluidity,
Oh.
where beliefs, they weren't separate, they were intertwined.
It makes you think about how religions interact, even today. And speaking of imagery, we can't forget those faces.
Yeah. Those enigmatic faces, gazing out from the Bayon, the city gates.
Hypnotic almost. Who are they supposed to be?
There are a few theories. Some say Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva,
Others?
Buddhavajrasattva. Some even see Hindu gods in there.
It's a mystery.
And here's the thing, they probably were modeled on Jayavarman VII himself.
So the king as a divine figure.
More than that, blurring the lines completely.
That's a serious power move.
It was. In the Khmer worldview, the king, he wasn't just a ruler, he was a god king, a link between us and the divine. And by putting his face everywhere...
Jayavarman was making a statement.
Exactly. His authority, it was divinely ordained. It's incredible. These structures weren't just about looks. They were communicating ideas, power, a whole narrative woven into the city itself. But what about the everyday people? The ones living in Angkor Thom?
Did they buy into this? Seeing their king as a god.
Yeah.
How did it affect their lives?
Now that is where things get really fascinating and where we start to see Angkor Thom's lasting impact. It's like we can't interview them, the people who live there.
Right, no time machine.
But we can look at how the city's design, all that symbolism,
Yeah.
how it might have shaped their daily lives. Imagine living in a city that's like a model of the cosmos,
Oh.
every day moving through this grand narrative, surrounded by these reminders of the king's power, the order of the universe.
It must have been amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
But also maybe a bit much.
You know, did they feel this constant pressure, like living in a sacred space, or was it just part of life?
Background noise almost.
It's a question that still fascinates historians, archaeologists.
Right.
Because Angkor Thom wasn't just temples and monuments.
It was a real city?
Right, a bustling urban center. We see evidence of this sophisticated infrastructure, canals, reservoirs.
Supporting agriculture?
Trade, too. Workshops, markets, homes.
All the stuff of city life.
Exactly. So alongside the cosmic symbolism.
There was this very human side to Angkor Thom.
Mm-hmm.
People going about their day, buying, selling, raising families, dealing with the realities of life.
I like these two worlds overlapping.
The sacred and the secular.
I like that. And it makes us think about how Angkor Thom's legacy isn't just the big monuments. It's about this interplay. Religion, politics, everyday life, all those things woven together.
And that's what makes it so interesting to study. But Angkor Thom, it didn't last forever.
Like all cities.
Sometime before 1609, abandoned.
It's a bit of a mystery, really.
What happened? Sudden collapse or a slow decline? And what does that tell us about its impact?
The exact reasons are still debated. Scholars think it was a combination of things.
Like what?
Changing climate, for one. Evidence of droughts. Maybe floods.
Impacting their food supply.
Exactly. Maybe trade routes shifted.
Making Angkor Thom less important economically.
Right. And of course, always the possibility of political instability, conflicts.
So not one single event, but a bunch of things coming together. It makes you wonder if things had been different.
Could Angkor Thom have kept going?
Thrived.
We can't know for sure, but it raises this interesting point about legacy.
Hmm.
Even though Angkor Thom was abandoned, its influence didn't just disappear. For centuries, it was hidden.
Shrouded in jungle.
Almost forgotten by the outside world, but for the Khmer people.
The memory remained.
Exactly. Angkor Thom became a legend, whispers in the jungle, passed down, and then it's rediscovered.
By Europeans, right, in the 19th century.
That's right. And it wasn't just some ruins, it was a symbol of this lost empire, the greatness of Khmer civilization, this rediscovery. It sparked all this interest, scholarship.
Leading to it becoming a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Precisely. So even abandoned, Angkor Thom still had this power, this pull on the imagination.
And that brings us to its legacy today.
Yeah.
In Cambodia. What role does it play in their society now?
It's more than just a tourist attraction.
It's got to be.
It's a symbol of national pride, a reminder of their history. Think about it. Its image is on the Cambodian flag.
Wow.
And it's everywhere in their art, literature, music.
So Angkor Thom, it's almost like a touchstone.
For Cambodian identity.
Right. Connecting them to the past.
Yeah.
But does it create a sense of, continuity? Or is it more about reclaiming a lost heritage?
That's a tough one. See, Angkor Thom's legacy, it's complex.
In what way?
On one hand, it evokes nostalgia.
Longing for this past glory.
Exactly. But it's also a source of inspiration, a reminder that Cambodia has faced challenges before, and overcome them.
But it's also a reminder of the challenges themselves, right?
Absolutely.
Angkor Thom being abandoned.
It's a cautionary tale.
About how fragile civilizations are, that we need to protect what we have.
You're spot on. Angkor Thom's legacy isn't just celebrating the past, it's learning from it and learning how to preserve it for the future. Which brings up a big issue at Angkor Thom today.
What's that?
Tourism. Millions of visitors.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It brings in money, but it also puts a strain on those ancient structures. Finding that balance between letting people experience Angkor Thom
And keeping it safe.
it's a constant struggle.
So it's not just about taking pretty pictures. It's about understanding the responsibility we all have towards this legacy. And that brings us to another aspect of Angkor Thom's impact.
Its influence on Cambodian arts and culture. Angkor Thom's influence, it's everywhere. In Cambodian arts, culture, you see it in the dance, the music.
Even today.
Oh, yeah. Even in modern art. Paintings, sculptures, it's all there.
It's like Angkor Thom is this endless source of inspiration. For artists, I mean.
Yeah, they keep going back to it, reworking those ancient forms for modern audiences.
Are there any examples that really stand out?
Absolutely. Like, think of the Apsara.
A what?
The Apsara, the celestial dancers.
You've seen them, into the carvings, right?
Right. Elaborate headdresses, flowing garments, they're everywhere in Angkor Thom. And today, they're like a national symbol.
Wow.
You see them on everything. Banknotes, tourist stuff.
And in the traditional ballet, right?
Exactly. The Apsara come to life, those graceful movements. It's fascinating how these ancient figures, they've taken on new meanings.
Beyond their original religious context.
Right. In modern Cambodia, they represent beauty, grace.
This connection to their heritage
Exactly. And it's not just the visual arts.
goes further.
Think of the Reamkor.
Reamkor.
It's this epic poem, Cambodian version of the Ramayana, and it draws heavily on Angkor Thom.
The imagery, the stories.
Right, from those bas-reliefs. Those stories, carved in stone centuries ago.
They still resonate today.
Oh, yeah. They remind Cambodians of their roots, this power of storytelling. It's amazing, you know? Angkor Thom isn't just some static ruins.
It's like alive.
It's a dynamic force still shaping Cambodian culture. But this legacy, it comes with responsibilities. How do Cambodians today, how do they deal with preserving Angkor Thom?
While celebrating it.
Exactly. It's a balancing act. There's the pressure of tourism.
Yeah. Good for the economy.
Right. But it can damage the structures.
Makes sense.
Then there's the need to make sure Angkor Thom stays relevant, not just some relic of the past. For Cambodians today.
So how do they manage all that? Are there any specific steps being taken to preserve it?
Oh, tons. There's a huge effort going into conservation, restoration. Organizations like UNESCO, the Apsara Authority.
I've heard of them.
They're working with international experts, documenting, studying, protecting the site.
Real teamwork.
And they're using some high-tech stuff, too. Laser scanning, 3D modeling.
To, map it all out.
Yeah, create these super detailed records. See what needs to be fixed.
It's good to know people are working to keep it safe. But it's not just about fancy technology, right?
No, not at all.
The people who live near Angkor Thom,
They're crucial.
they must have such a strong connection to it.
Exactly. And their knowledge, their skills, it's so valuable. They're involved in everything from traditional restoration
Really.
to guiding tourists, teaching people about respecting the site.
So it's about keeping Angkor Thom a living part of the community, not just a museum. And that's what legacy is all about, isn't it? Passing on something meaningful to the next generation, something that inspires, challenges, connects us to the past.
Well said. Angkor Thom's legacy, it's a testament to human creativity, this
Yeah.
enduring spirit of culture. It's a story that's still unfolding. Each generation adds its own part.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it, this ancient city and all it represents.
Yeah. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm just awestruck by its scale, its ambition, but also just really appreciating how complex its legacy is. Angkor Thom, it's more than just some pretty ruins. It's this living, breathing reminder of how the past shapes us and how it can inspire the future.
It's given us a lot to think about. How do we balance tourism with preservation?
Right.
How do we keep cultural heritage relevant in today's world? And maybe the biggest question,
What is it?
how do we learn from the past, the good and the bad, to build a better future?
Those are questions worth asking, and hopefully our deep dive into Angkor Thom
Has given people something to think about. The story of Angkor Thom, it doesn't end with its abandonment.
or its rediscovery.
It's still going,
Oh,
shaped by everyone who experiences its grandeur.
precisely.
So thank you for joining us on this journey through time and culture. We hope you've learned something new and that you have a new appreciation for Angkor Thom.
This city that still captures us centuries later.
It really does.